Bonjour and welcome to the diverse, vibrant city of Paris. Today, we will see some of its highlights and learn about life in this world-class city. Paris is located in Europe. You will find it in the northern half of the country of France. Paris is the capital of France and is home to 2.2 million people, over 12 million if you count the suburban areas. The city came into being more than 2,000 years ago and was named Parisii by the Celtic tribe who first settled here. In 53 BC, Julius Caesar conquered the area and named it Lutetia. Then, in 212 AD, it was renamed Paris. Back then, the river that runs through the city was, and still is, an important means of transporting both goods and people. This river, the Seine, separates Paris into two parts, known as the left bank and the right bank. Each side or bank of the river has its own distinct personality. The right bank of the Seine is usually associated with business, fashion, and entertainment, whereas the left bank is known for its population of artists, intellectuals, and students. Our tour will take us along the left bank of the Seine, returning back on the right bank, and exploring the major sites along the way. We will start with one of the most famous landmarks in the world, the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was built for the World Exposition in 1889 and was the highest tower of its time at 984 feet. The tower was designed by Gustave Eiffel, a bridge builder from Dijon. It was meant to be demolished after the Expo, but was saved to become a radio tower, and now a television tower. Although unpopular at the time, it has now become one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world. It contains 2,500,000 rivets and requires 40 tons of paint each time it is painted. On one side of the Eiffel Tower sits the Place du Trocadero. It was built in 1937 and is now home to several museums such as the National Naval Museum and the French Monuments Museum. On the other side of the tower is a large rectangular green space called the Champ de Mars. Once a military parade ground, it is now used as a gathering place for outdoor activities. At the end of the Champ de Mars is the École Militaire, a military school. Napoleon attended here as a cadet at the age of 16. Nearby is a group of buildings collectively known as the Hôtel des Invalides. They are a complex of monuments and museums relating to France's military history. At one time, the Hôtel des Invalides was a hospital for as many as 6,000 injured and retired soldiers. It was commissioned by Louis XIV in 1671 and has since become a museum dedicated to the French army. Also on the grounds is the final resting place of Napoleon Bonaparte in the church with the golden dome. Across the street from Les Invalides sits the Rodin Museum, containing a well-known sculpture called The Thinker by Auguste Rodin. Heading back toward the river once again, we see the National Assembly building. This is one of two buildings where the government meets. It was originally called the Palais Bourbon, the Bourbon Palace, and was built by Louis XIV for one of his daughters. Continuing along the left bank of the Seine we find the famous Musée d'Orsay. This building was originally a train station and was built for the World Exposition in 1900, then later abandoned and nearly demolished. Since 1986, it has become a famous museum whose art spans the latter half of the 19th century. There you will find many Impressionist and Post-Impressionist paintings by Vincent van Gogh, Renoir, Paul Cézanne, Claude Monet, Paul Gauguin, Edouard Manet, and many others. The next place of note on the left bank is a church by the name of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. It is the oldest church in Paris, dating back to 542 AD. Moving away from the Seine, we find the most popular park in Paris, the 60-acre Luxembourg Gardens. Here you can find families enjoying the park's many activities, along with people playing pool, a game in which metal balls are rolled along the ground in order to hit a smaller wooden ball. Contained within the gardens is the Luxembourg Palace, another government building. It is home to the French Senate. Of the statues and sculptures on display in the gardens, one that is sure to be of interest is a replica of the Statue of Liberty. Back on the waterfront, we come to a building known as the Conciergerie, a prison for the condemned during the Revolution. It dates back to 1300 and remained a prison until 1914. Its most famous occupant was Marie Antoinette. Paris has been a world-renowned center of learning for close to 1,000 years. In fact, one of the oldest universities, the University of Paris, was founded here in 1253. At that time, the language of learning was Latin, hence the name Latin Quarter. A number of famous painters, writers, and philosophers have whiled away their time here in the Latin Quarter. Historical personalities such as Pablo Picasso, Ernest Hemingway, Voltaire, and Jean-Paul Sartre have all spent time exchanging ideas in this area. It is very fitting that we find the Pantheon nearby, since it was created to be a temple of reason. Although it was originally built in the late 18th century to become a church, this plan changed after the Revolution. It is the final resting place for many of Paris' greats: Victor Hugo, Marie Curie, Émile Zola, Voltaire, Rousseau, and Alexandre Dumas, who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo and The Three Musketeers. The Latin Quarter is also home to the Paris Mosque. After Christianity, Islam is the most practiced religion in Paris. This mosque was built in the 1920s in honor of the North African Muslims who helped France during World War I. The one and only skyscraper in Paris is called the Montparnasse Tower. Such a fuss was made over its height that the building of any more skyscrapers was banned. Crossing over to the right bank, we arrive first on the Ile de la Cité, an island on the Seine. There you will find the very grand and timeless Notre Dame Cathedral. The cornerstone for it was laid in 1163 by Pope Alexander III. Almost 2 centuries later, in 1345, it was finally completed and has been restored a number of times since then. Notre Dame's architectural style is known as Gothic. One of these Gothic elements is the flying buttresses, the exterior stone supports on each side of the rear of the cathedral. Notre Dame is also known for its remarkable stained glass rose windows. We hope you have enjoyed your virtual visit to Paris and that you have a better sense of what this vibrant city is all about. Au revoir!